Do you guys remember the Pepsi challenge where they would put a bottle of Pepsi and Coke side by side with no labels, and then people would go and try each one out and decide if it was Pepsi or not? Okay, and most people could tell which one was Coke because we all know Coke is the better one. But let me know in the comments below if you prefer Coke or Pepsi. However, today we've got a new Pepsi challenge, and it's AMD versus NVIDIA. Let's talk about it. I did a video on this, I don't know, maybe it was like 6 months ago, 8 months ago, when I first started the channel, where I asked the question, are you taking the Pepsi challenge for AMD versus NVIDIA? Can you actually tell the difference and actually decide if you're going to take the Pepsi challenge, which is basically, are you going to invest in AMD? Okay, if you don't know, if you're not in the chip sector, AMD is the second player next to NVIDIA, okay? Now, not a lot of people know about chips in general, but they're very hard to make if you don't know that. Chips in general are difficult to make, and the world has a very, very, very strong demand for those chips right now. And to be honest, I think that demand is going to skyrocket exponentially, and we will not have enough chips, let alone enough energy to even power all these chips, okay? So we've got two problems in general. However, the chips are going to be in demand by every company and every country in this world. And so you've got two companies out there in NVIDIA and AMD. And the valuation difference between the two is astronomical. That valuation difference is about $3.2 trillion. Okay, NVIDIA is trading at a $3.5 trillion valuation, and AMD is at about a $200 billion valuation. And so you got to ask yourself, are they really going to stay that far behind? Is AMD going to falter that much to where they can't catch up at least a little bit to NVIDIA? Now, as far as my perspective, this is just my opinion. I'm not a financial professional. I can't tell you what to do, when to do it, how to do it. It's just my opinion that AMD is going to catch up. Okay, Lisa Su, the CEO of the year, I think it was like a year ago or 2 years ago, she is not going to fall behind, all right? She is going to play catch up, all right? She knows the playbook, and she's focusing in on this inference market. Now, if you don't know, the AI world consists of two parts, okay? The first is the training part, and that is what NVIDIA shines with. They've got this crazy Blackwell chip, and I'm sure they're working on the next generation, they all are, that can just train at just insane amounts of speed and data throughput, and so on and so forth. So that's the first part to this market, is the training market. That's what's ramping up as we speak. Now they have to train all these models and then test them against the second market. And that second market is the inference market. And that is what Lisa Su is targeting, because there's an opportunity. NVIDIA is not extremely targeting the inference market. And I believe that they're designing these chips, AMD is, to perform adequately and efficiently in the inference market, and that's where the volume is. Okay, so every single time that you go to ChatGPT, or you go to Suno, which is an AI music generator, or any of these websites that are going to give you an AI output, they're using an inference chip somewhere. You know, they're using some section of an inference chip to give you a result. Okay, that's how Tesla works. Every single car has an inference chip. Every single robot has an inference chip. And over the years, AMD is probably going to get better and better and more focused on this. And hey, who knows, maybe Tesla will actually buy from AMD. I think they build their own neural network inference chips today, but that could change. You know, there's going to be thousands and thousands of customers of AMD that are going to be buying these chips. So there's going to be more R&D into this inference technology for AMD. Now, this week, Saudi Arabia announced a $10 billion order for AMD chips, guys. $10 billion. That is literally 5% of their entire market cap. Not to mention, 2 or 3 weeks ago, they announced an increase in share buybacks. AMD did. So they're approving $10 billion in share buybacks. Now, that doesn't mean that they're buying back the shares today. That just gives them the approval to do it whenever they want. You don't really know when they do it. They usually announce it on their quarterly earnings, whether or not they bought back a certain number of shares. But I digress. That means, though, when they are announcing buyback of shares, that means they are confident and they have conviction in all the sales that are up and coming. And I'm telling you what, that stock is still trading from a 6-month chart flat. All right, that stock is still trading only, I think today, it's like up 3% on a 1-year chart. So there is opportunity there when it comes to AMD. I still think it's a cheap opportunity. With where the AI market is going and that CEO they have in Lisa Su, I think that's a 10 to 15-year opportunity, maybe more. We don't know how the AI space is going to evolve. You know, it could slow down after 10 years, maybe 15 years, but I don't know. To be honest, how are you going to get the world full of all these inference chips for all the new software that is going to be generated? I mean, Elon Musk is saying like, oh, they want to build millions of these robots. That means millions of chips. You know, whether it's AMD or not, I don't know. But that's the thing. I guarantee you, if there's a new chip out that's better than what Tesla can build, they'll use it. Okay? And the same thing goes for all of these other software applications, guys. Google, Microsoft, Palantir, the list goes on and on. These inference chips are going to be used like hotcakes. Okay? And I mean, obviously, the data center is important too for training all the data. I mean, NVIDIA is kind of the expert at that. You know, will AMD get into that space? They probably will. You know, no doubt. I don't see why their chips will be that far inferior to NVIDIA. NVIDIA has been at this a longer period of time. They deserve the valuation. They were the first to market. But again, this world is competitive. And there's no reason why AMD is not going to be competitive as well and catch up to NVIDIA. So, you know, will AMD cut the valuation in half with respect to NVIDIA? Will AMD get up to, let's say, a $2 trillion valuation? If that were the case, I bet you NVIDIA would be somewhere in the $5 to $6 trillion valuation. If they were to get to $2 trillion valuation, that's a 10x. That is a great return on your money. If you can 10x your money in 5 years, or dare I say 3 years, we don't know. You know, we don't know how quick this ramp up of AI chips is going to be. And I think they've got like 2 chips in their pipeline, the 350 and the 400. I can't remember what the models are. And then they bought this other company called Xilinx, which I've used in my industry in the AV space. It's an FPGA chip and it processes data in different ways using these different types of gate technology. I'm not a chip guy. I don't know all the details, but they bought a great company that creates great chips right there. So who knows if the Xilinx purchase can create new different types of applications with those chips. I mean, they might make like a hybrid inference FPGA chip. Who knows? You know, that's the thing about these CEOs. The reason they buy these companies is they want to be able to be creative with the products they build. And that's obviously why NVIDIA keeps buying more and more companies as well. They're going to buy up anything they can find that actually makes sense to their business model. So I'm just saying that I'm really happy with the position I'm in with AMD. I bought 16,000 in one account, in my after-tax brokerage account. And then when Liberation Day happened, right, April 7th, I think, AMD went down to 78 bucks, and I loaded the boat on my IRA. I bought another $9,000. So I've got, I think, around 25 grand in my basis in the position, and I'm green on both of them. I think I'm up 30% on the IRA because of Liberation Day. Thank you, Donald Trump. And then I think I'm up only maybe 5 to 6% on my first position I took, because I got in a little high. I got in at the $200 billion market cap level, which was around $130 a share. So, but I was averaging down. I got some shares under 100 bucks. So that average, I took my average from 130s down to $116 a share. So I've got a good size position. And man, so if I 10x those two positions, I'll be sitting on 250K in, I'm gonna say 5 years. That stock is at a $2 trillion valuation. I mean, today or yesterday, it did a 10% move on one sale from Saudi Arabia, $10 billion. You know, do you think that that's not going to be announced again from another country or another company, et cetera, et cetera? I mean, that's where things are going with AI. You got to be positioned. You got to be positioned in this world with where things are going. And that's where the world's going, is AI chips, inference, and modeling, you know? So anyways, hopefully this helps you guys figure out what position you want to take. I'm taking the position from a low valuation and the Pepsi challenge. I'm going to go with Pepsi on this play. And to be honest, if you look at the returns on Coke and Pepsi from back in the day, they're almost like equivalent. I think Pepsi's actually gained more, maybe. I'm not exactly sure. I think I showed that chart years ago, or not years ago, but months ago in my channel. But, you know, you guys can look it up on Yahoo Finance. It's no big deal. But, yeah, that's the position I'm taking. I still do have a couple of NVIDIA shares. I think I've only got maybe 6-7 grand worth. But it's a super high valuation. You know, will it go up? Probably. It's probably going to hit 10 trillion someday. But that's only a 3x from here. You know, you're at 3.5 trillion. You get to 10 trillion, it's only a 3x. So it's like, you know, I don't want to put as much money at a high valuation. So, but it's still a great company to invest in, no doubt. NVIDIA is not going anywhere. They're going to be the leader. They will beat out AMD every day as far as, you know, general sales and market cap. But I think AMD is going to catch up and close that gap quite a bit. So you guys let me know in the comments below. Are you investing in AMD? Are you not? Or are you investing in NVIDIA? Or Broadcom? There's so many chip companies out there that, you know, you can find what you want. Or you can invest in the semiconductor index. I think it's SMH. I can't remember what it is. But anyways, I'll put it in the screen if I see the ticker. Anyways, I'm getting a little exhausted here. It's hot out. So if you guys could, if you like the content, like and subscribe, and take a look at my previous video if you could. And everyone, have a great day. Thanks. Bye.